Hey guys, Tom, aka T-Dub here. I hope you guys enjoyed the first two hands of the series. Those hands dealt with basically post-flop plays and how to extract value or pot control. So basically what we're going to do here is it's going to be a little bit of a shorter video. But here we're going to talk about pre-flop. And I'll give you kind of a preview of what happened. But we're going to talk about pre-flop and what I feel the essentials of pre-flop battles are. Basically, when you're looking to squeeze or when you're looking to 3-bet, there's certain things that have to go through your head. Finding a good spot, when everybody says that, okay, it's a good spot to 3-bet, it's a good spot to 3-bet. What does that actually mean? And you know what? I've debated with myself and other people what it actually means, but really it comes down to how the table views you and what they expect you to do in a certain spot and what you're actually doing, like what range of hands you're actually doing it with. So, to clarify that, let's say we are Sammy TC 10-11, and we have this crazy, loose, ridiculously aggressive image. If this hand were to come up and play, I would be saying this is a value 3-bet. Now, why is it a value 3-bet? Well, basically, it's because Ace-Jack is a value hand in this situation because you have that crazy image, and because your whole table knows you have that crazy image. So, and, I mean, obviously this looks like a squeeze spot, like a perfect squeeze spot, so this would be picking a good spot to 3-bet because a lot of the time people are going to come along with King, Queen, Ace 10 suited, pocket threes, like a lot of these marginal hands that your image has created value for them in their minds, which in theory creates value for your hands. So this would be a good spot to 3-bet raise if that image has been made. Now, the reads I've gotten from this hand history, there wasn't anything on image or anything like that, so I'm going to assume there wasn't an image. So that's why I'll get into bad spots and why I think this is actually a bad spot to 3-bet. So, go back. So the image that we have on Lucky Sten, Turbo, or the reads, sorry, I should say, on Lucky Sten, Turbo, and Big Bob are as follows. Lucky Sten, fairly aggressive, good post-flop, aggressive player, but pre-flop he's been min-raised folding a ton. Turbo, we didn't have any reads, so I'm just assuming he's just a fairly standard $8 tournament player. Big Bob is apparently a very flatty and spewy station, basically. So, with that being said, we have the images. It seems like it's a perfect spot to 3-bet, right? Because one, the opener's going to fold. This Turbo guy's probably not going to get a line, and Big Bob's just going to flat a lot. So that's perfect, right? Well, kind of wrong. Because what happens is when you have a hand like Ace-Jack, where, I mean, obviously you're going to miss a lot of flops. There's going to be a lot of flops in favor of a lot of these guys' ranges compared to your hand. So really, what it comes down to is image. And when you want people to make mistakes, when you want people to basically hand you chips, your image has to be perfect for what you're doing. So when there's no image here, there's no image created whatsoever, Ace-Jack is not a value 3-bet in this spot. Ace-Jack is more of a bluff 3-bet in this spot. Because I would not assume someone is going to get in worse than Ace-Jack. It's very unlikely unless they've not paid attention and are just absolutely horrible. I don't see any reason for anyone to ever get in like King-Jack offsuit here. It just makes no sense. So that's why it's not a value 3-bet. So that's why I don't think this spot is a good 3-bet either, because now once you 3-bet, you basically have you have to call two people. And then you can also be put in a world of just no man's land by Turbo. He can easily come over the top if he wanted to, if he was, that kind of player, if he wanted to, and put you in a very, very weird spot because it does look like such a good squeeze spot. So you're going to ask, well, if the first guy's folding and then the last guy on the button is flatting a lot, then doesn't that make it profitable? Well, it does. But in the long run, I really do think you're going to make a minimal amount of money compared to what Big Bob is going to be calling you with if you just 3-bet and then shove the flop, because he's going to have a pot size bet. Like, I don't know how the exact math is, but you can do the math on it. I really do think, and plus the situation too of what tournament is. It's an $8 tournament where you don't need to take this kind of unnecessary gamble, and this is something I advocate a lot, is learning the situation and understanding your situation and being able to evaluate the cause and effect of a certain play. Because really, you could just flat take a flop and potentially stack somebody with an ace or a jack high flop, because that's the types of hands that these people are flatting. You know, king jack, queen jack, ace nine, ace 10, you know, all these weak hands that you have a lot of value over post flop. And I really think that's where your value will come from. So to 3-bet here, you're really just 3-betting as a bluff with ace jack. And now everybody's going to say, well, what's the golden rule to 3-bets? Really, it all just depends on you. It depends on your image. It depends on how the table views you and how they'll view a perceived range of yours. You know, what you're going to do. Are you going to have, is your perceived range a lot of junk, and then the odd time, you know, some nut hands, like, is it very polarized? Is your perceived range kind of like a standard range? Is your image standard? Is your image aggressive? You know, it's all comes down to, that's what it comes down to in 3-betting. You know, a lot of people these days just 3-bet and 4-bet because, you know, they've seen other people do it. Well, you really have to take into account what everyone thinks of you and what you think of everyone else and what you think they'll do. So, you know, even if some guys are flatty, I really don't like 3-betting ace-jack, because you're getting into an inflated pot where he has a pot-sized bet left, and you can potentially just cause yourself a lot of problems. Like, yes, it's nice when he just folds, but I really do think at this stage of the tournament, 150, 300, if a guy's going to put in, well, like a third of his stack, he's just not folding many things, especially on flops like this. He's just not going to fold a lot. I really do think that this hand, there's more value in playing it post-flop, but for pre-flop plays, and, you know, when you're just on the fence about playing pre-flop and aggression pre-flop, just take account to what you've done to get you to this point. Like, have you set up anything? Have you been on somebody? Have you been 3-betting? Have you been passive? Have you been raising a lot? Now, that's a very, actually, I just reminded myself, that's a very common misconception. If someone is raising a lot, they get this labeled image of loose aggressive pass flop, which is somewhat true, but you have to differentiate between raising a lot and 3-betting a lot, or 4-betting a lot. Because if someone's just raising a lot but folding to every 3-bet, then they're not really that aggressive. They're just a little looser. But if you are 3-betting somebody all the time and they keep 4-betting you, then yes, they're very aggressive. So you have to take into account also who does what. If someone just keeps raise folding until they actually have a big hand, then they're really not that loose aggressive. They're just loose. So I hope that kind of clarified some misconceptions sometimes about how to play hands pre-flop and what to do pre-flop. You know, you can go about it a certain ways, but there has to be fundamentals to it, and you basically have to think of just your image, the table's image, and how they will perceive your perceived range, I guess you can say. So yeah, that was a very quick video, but I hope someone out there learned something from this about trying to improve their pre-flop play. And if you have any questions or comments, concerns, arguments, whatever, just want to say hi, let me know. I can tell you from personal experience, pre-flop play it's more of an art, 3-betting, than a science. So, you know, you do have to figure out your own ways, but there are some certain guidelines that you do have to follow. So I hope everyone enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time.